Speaker, yesterday the Farming Minister told a conference of farmers that farming is not high in the pecking order for this government. Given the heartless family farm tax, is his minister correct? Yes or no?
What should be done with Keir Starmer when he is caught lying so openly? Just days ago, Labour Farming Minister Daniel Zeichner told farmers that agriculture is not on the government's priority list. This sent shockwaves across the United Kingdom, with many Britons criticizing Starmer for betraying the farming community. However, when Starmer was later asked whether farming was a government priority, he denied it, further fueling the controversy. The situation quickly spiraled out of control. Parliament could not contain the outrage, and shouting erupted across the chamber. MPs were heard calling shame, shame, leaving Starmer visibly under pressure. But what exactly did Starmer say, and how did Parliament ultimately respond?
Farming's top of the agenda as far as I'm concerned.
In this video, let's uncover the full story. The air inside the House of Commons was thick with tension as Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, found himself trapped in a political crisis of his own making. The moment he opened his mouth to declare that farming was at the top of his agenda, the chamber erupted, not in applause or agreement, but in outright fury and disbelief.
It's not high in the pecking order for this government. Given the heartless family farm tax, is his minister correct? Yes or no?
Farming's top of the agenda as far as I'm concerned. That's why we put £5 billion to support farmers in the budget. They failed to spend three.
But why? This political disaster had its roots in a shocking admission made just days earlier by Labour's Minister of State for Food, Farming and Fisheries, Daniel Zeichner. He had stood before a farmers' conference in Norfolk, a room filled with men and women whose lives revolve around the very foundation of Britain's food security, and dismissed farming as a low-priority issue. The words left his lips with striking insensitivity, as if he had no sense of the political time bomb he had just ignited. For farmers already reeling from the looming threat of inheritance tax changes, his remarks felt like a slap in the face. Many had believed, or at least hoped, that the government would work to support them in an increasingly volatile agricultural economy. Instead, they were being told quite clearly that their concerns were not high on Labour's pecking order, despite the party's repeated claims that it stands with farmers, and that it is the Conservatives who do not.
Who don't care about farmers.
Well, I think for a long time they were considered to be the party of our counties and our shires and of the farming community. Yeah. And I've got to tell you, over the last 13 years, they have completely demolished that reputation with the way that they treated farmers, the way that they've dealt with our food security. Where, on one hand, you've got farmers who feel so frustrated that they haven't got government support, and if you're a consumer, you're going into the supermarket and seeing that shelves are empty. Why? Because the government are not on the side of farmers, they're not on the side of food security, and as a result, in the end, consumers...
But now it is the Labour Party that is keeping farmers in the dark and appears to be punishing them. The backlash was immediate. Farmers across the country, along with industry leaders and rural campaign groups, erupted in outrage. Their frustration was not just about one careless remark. It reflected a deeper pattern of neglect, a growing sense that their livelihoods were being sacrificed for the government's broader political priorities. When news of Zeichner's statement spread, Starmer had two choices. He could either admit his government's position and acknowledge that agriculture was not central to Labour's plans, or he could attempt damage control by distancing himself from his minister's remarks. He chose the latter, but it backfired spectacularly. Farming's top of the agenda, as far as I'm concerned. Before we continue, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel for more exclusive coverage of the groundbreaking changes happening on Offscript. Let's continue. As he stood before the Commons, Starmer took a deep breath and declared that farming was at the very top of his agenda. Perhaps in his mind, it was a simple line meant to brush aside the growing controversy and move on. But what he failed to anticipate was the scale of anger already ignited across the country. The moment those words left his lips, Parliament erupted. The opposition, the Conservative benches, and even his own backbenchers could not contain their fury. MPs shouted him down, dismissing his claim as nothing more than a hollow and cynical attempt to rewrite reality. Everyone in that chamber knew the political temperature had reached boiling point. The moment felt bigger than routine debate. Farmers, industry leaders, and even labor figures had already signaled that agriculture was not being treated as a government priority, deepening accusations that the party had remained insensitive to the issue.
So I want the Minister, Mr Speaker, to look me in the eye. Sam Wilson is a farmer in Ashfield. He's not a rich man. In fact, he's not drawn a wage in the past 4 years. So I want the Minister, Mr Speaker, to look me in the eyes and tell me how many farmers he's spoken to over the past few months that actually agree with this harebrained scheme.
Yeah. Minister.
Well, the last farmer I spoke to over the weekend congratulated me on what we were doing.
Even a former Labour advisor reportedly said that farmers were not important and should be dealt with using an iron hand.
Farmers still get a privileged status for their farms, and I think that may or may not be right. I'm personally in favour of doing to farmers who want to go on the streets, we can do to them what Margaret Thatcher did to the miners.
So just to be clear, John, you would, beat them up?
No, close them. I mean, this is an industry we could do without.
So, okay, all right, so this got weird. So you would do to farmers what Margaret Thatcher did to miners, which was, and she used very heavy-handed police tactics, followed by what? Putting them out of business.
If people are so upset that they want to go on the streets and spray slurry on them, then we don't need the small farmers.
Right. Okay, John, I'm not sure that's a particular... You were, just to clarify, you were a former Labour special advisor, possibly emphasis on the word former there, but...
And yet, here was Starmer standing before them, denying the undeniable. MPs hurled their accusations. How could farming be a priority when his own minister had said the exact opposite? How could he expect Britain's farmers to trust him when he had done nothing to ease their growing fears about the devastating impact of the government's inheritance tax policies?
We will fight till the death because we love what we do. We produce the food for those that are trying to tax us. And if they think that we're going to give up, we're not giving up.
We could stop the country, and I don't think they realise that. So we're not giving up. We're not going to be able to afford to continue. The inheritance tax is going to finish us off.
All the honest, hard-working, easy targets, tax them, tax them, tax them, tax them. Tax them to death. And it's not right.
This government is screwing the British agriculture, the fishing industry, the haulage, and all the power and infrastructure of the country. And without that, we can't continue.
What would you say to Keir Starmer if you could have a quick word with him?
I just wish he'd never been born. I can't stand the bloody man. He is the worst Prime Minister we've ever had in this country.
He's not listened to us. He doesn't know the struggles that we go through. He doesn't understand it. He's not tried to listen to us. He said that he's not going to tax the working man. Well, what is the working man? I don't think there's anything else to describe a working man than a farmer.
This inheritance tax has come in, has made things basically the last nail in the coffin. If this tax goes ahead, there will be no food in the supermarkets for them.
What do you say to people who say, well, everyone else has to pay inheritance tax, so why not farmers?
I don't know. I think we're farmers. We don't make much money. We kind of jog along as we are. If you want food, you kind of got to suck it up. It's one of those things. Obviously, I understand what they say, but we still pay a lot of tax. It's not like we just don't pay anything.
The calls of shame. Shame echoed through Parliament. An outpouring of anger from a nation tired of being lied to. In that moment, Starmer's carefully maintained mask collapsed. The question now is simple. What happens when a leader is caught lying so blatantly, so shamelessly, and so publicly? For Starmer, this was not just a bad day in Parliament. It was a moment that will haunt his leadership. Trust is the most valuable currency in politics, and once it is lost, it is almost impossible to regain. Farmers will not forget this moment, nor will the British public, who watched as their Prime Minister was exposed, ridiculed, and humiliated on the national stage. Now, Starmer has lost credibility with rural communities, alienated farmers who once hoped for government support, and weakened his position against a growing opposition. As he left Parliament that day, the echoes of shame still rang in his ears. Beyond the grand halls of Westminster, farmers heard those words and knew without a doubt that their Prime Minister had failed them. What do you think? Should Starmer be allowed to remain Prime Minister despite these lies? Isn't it true that he undermines the democratic principles Britain is famous for? Share your thoughts in the comments below on how the Labour government's stance on farming shows promises that may never be fulfilled. If you want to watch more videos like this, please like, share, and subscribe for the latest updates on off SCRIP TAND unfolding events.